13 Best Mads Mikkelsen Movies That Prove He's an Underloved Gem. Mads Dittmann Mikkelsen was originally a dancer and a gymnast, who eventually rose to fame after his performance in Danish films. His journey from there to Hollywood was commendable as he acted in films across different genres. From black comedy to romance, to drama, to science fiction, to crime thriller, he has done it all. His acting has been breathtaking through and through, and despite his success in Hollywood, Mikkelsen never let go of his Danish roots, often collaborating with Danish directors in international films. The actor is a chameleon of Hollywood, whose versatility remains unequaled. He did a tremendous job in the show Hannibal, where he played the titular character. In this video, we will explore 13 of his best movie performances. Let's begin. Number 1. The Hunt, 2012. The story revolves around Lucas, a divorced member of a close-knit Danish community who works at a local kindergarten, and he struggles to maintain a relationship with his teenage son, Marcus, who lives with his ex-wife. After an incident with one of his students, Lucas is wrongly accused and shunned by his community as a pedophile and sexual predator, which in turn destroys his friendship with his best friends, leads to a breakup with his girlfriend, and his son is publicly humiliated and excluded from society. As they question more children, little by little Lucas's innocence comes to light and he is released without a charge, but the community is still suspicious of him, which slowly takes an ugly and violent turn. His dog is killed, stones are thrown at his house, and he is even beaten up at the grocery store. However, eventually, his best friend comes through and believes that Lucas is innocent, and a year later, the tensions in the community have lessened and his son is finally accepted into the society, but the film ends with an unseen person shooting at Lucas. This film allows Mads Mikkelsen to show off his versatility as an actor after more popularly being typecast as a villain. He is shown as a kind, loving, kindergarten teacher who loves spending quality time with his students while also trying to have a fatherly relationship with his teenage son. His blonde hair slicked back and wired glasses give him the perfect look of a decent small-town guy who wouldn't hurt a fly, which is why this film is a brilliantly frustrating watch after he has been wrongly accused and brutally hurt by his community. Mikkelsen's performance is heartbreaking and gut-wrenching. It makes you mad, it brings tears to your eyes, and it makes this film worth a watch. Well, while he plays a kindergarten teacher in Hunt, I think it was a good time to give a special mention to Mikkelsen in Polar, where he plays the world's topmost assassin named Duncan Visler, or the Black Kaiser. Number 2. Another Round, 2020. This film was an international co-production between Denmark, Sweden, and the Netherlands, and revolves around the theory that man is born with half a promille too little, and that alcohol in the blood opens the mind to the outside world, which makes the problem seem smaller, and increases creativity. 4 high school teachers and good friends, Martin, Tommy, Nikolai, and Peter, are all currently undergoing a midlife crisis with their failed marriages, sad careers, and the realization that they've lost their youth. And so, after a long night of drinking around town, the 4 of them come up with the idea to keep themselves constantly semi-intoxicated. There is no delay in them putting the theory to test, and they make a set of rules and begin observing the effect this has on their daily lives and mood. Although, are these 4 semi-drunk friends prepared for what comes with alcohol consumption at this level, and how it might impact their lives? Mads Mikkelsen deserves a stunning performance in this film, which won the Best International Feature Film at the 93rd Academy Awards. He truly delivers all the goods, for which he was rightfully nominated for a BAFTA. He is often considered a reliable actor, which means a good to exceptional performance in every film, but he truly amazes the critics and audiences in this film by standing out amongst an already stellar cast. This film had an interesting and refreshing plot, with some great writing, so it was all on the actors to execute it to the best of their ability, and they didn't fall short at any given point. Number 3, Riders of Justice, 2020. It is no shocker that the recent Anders Thomas Jensen film stars Mads Mikkelsen, as the film revolves around Marcus, a veteran soldier in Afghanistan, who finally decides to return home to take care of his daughter after a horrific train accident, which kills his wife. However, on his journey back he has a surprising encounter with two statistical analysts, who were the survivors of the accident and are convinced that there is more to this accident than what meets the eye, and that it was a plot to kill a key witness in the trial of a criminal motorcycle gang, Riders of Justice, and its leader. Marcus too is convinced that there are plenty of secrets that seem hidden in plain sight, and with the police unwilling to investigate further into this, he must take matters into his own hands and find out the truth about what went down. This film is very different from the typical American revenge story, and it proves so from the start to the finish, with a series of different things happening, and just how the dramatic events unfold one after the other. The center of the stage is occupied by none other than Mads Mikkelsen, who without a doubt is the star of the film. He plays the role of a traumatized veteran suffering great loss perfectly well, as he brings about a range of emotions in this film. His interpretation of this character is that he truly is a talented actor and an underappreciated gem in the history of cinema. Number 4, Casino Royale, 2006. One of the more popular Mads Mikkelsen films begins after James Bond earns the 00 status and a license to kill, and eventually goes on his very first mission. Although it is a film focused on James Bond, the film's plot revolves around Le Chiffre, played by Mikkelsen, who is a banker to the world's terrorists and is participating in a poker game in Montenegro, where he must win back his money to stay safe in the terrorist market. MI6 has its involvement in the prevention of this task, as the boss of MI6, known as M, sends James Bond and Vesper Lynd to attend this game and make sure that Le Chiffre doesn't win. Now, Bond must take part in probably the most important poker game of his life, which has some incredibly high stakes against Le Chiffre, who is far from easy to beat. The casting director of Casino Royale had revealed that Mads Mikkelsen wasn't her first choice as Le Chiffre, but the viewers were thrilled she decided to go for him, as he gave one of his best performances ever, along with giving the viewers their favorite Bond villain.
You know, I never understood all these elaborate tortures. It's the simplest thing to cause more pain than a man can possibly endure.
The best part about this character is the fact that while he is powerful and cunning, he isn't immortal, which is executed effortlessly by Mikkelsen. It isn't standing out in Bond films unless you're James Bond himself, but Mikkelsen manages to do just that with his performance. He was the perfect person to kick off the new era of the Bond franchise with his alluring role, perfect dialogue delivery, and Danish charm. Number 5, Doctor Strange, 2016.
How long have you been at Comatage, Mr. Doctor?
It seems anyone who's anyone in Hollywood has played a role in a Marvel film at one point or another. Marvel's Doctor Strange follows neurosurgeon Stephen Strange on a mystical journey as he recovers from a car accident that has injured both of his hands severely, leaving him unable to perform surgeries. When he meets a man who has recovered from half-body paralysis, he learns that he may find a cure in Commendable. In Commendable, he meets the Ancient One, portrayed by Tilda Swinton, who trains him in sorcery and teaches him to harness the powers of other universes and dimensions. Mordo, another sorcerer, explains that a former student named Caecilius has stolen a spell and escaped with 3 zealots. If he deciphers the spell, he will release Dormammu from the dark dimension and take over the world. Mads Mikkelsen has made a name for himself playing antagonists on the big screen, and he continues to do so in Doctor Strange, portraying Caecilius. Caecilius is on a mission to obtain eternal life, and while on this mission, He brings about harm and destruction to the authorities and sorcerers protecting the earth.
I mean, they can't escape, right?
Mikkelsen's performance is emotional, to the point where audience members may even sympathize with him. Casilius has a love-hate relationship with the Ancient One, his former teacher, and Mikkelsen does an incredible job demonstrating this with his co-star Tilda Swinton. Number 6. Flickering Lights, 2000. This 2000 Danish black comedy crime film directed and written by Anders Thomas Jensen revolves around 4 small-time gangsters, which include Peter, Arne, Stefan, and Torkeld, from Copenhagen, who decide to trick a gangster boss and take over 4 million kroner which they were supposed to bring him. As they attempt to escape to Barcelona, they are forced to stop in the countryside, in an old, wrecked house, and hide there for several weeks. Slowly and steadily, each of them realizes that they would like to continue living there, fix up the house and turn it into a restaurant, and start a whole new life that doesn't include them running around and hiding. But it isn't long before their past begins to catch up with them. This hidden gem is truly one of a kind with an original plot, great punchlines and humor, entertaining, and also philosophical to a great extent. The acting in this film stands out, especially Mikkelsen, who shines through with his performance that should never be forgotten. He is also part of some very memorable scenes in this film which are highlights of his performance. Mikkelsen is a constant in every film directed by Anders Thomas Jensen, and their combination works like a charm every single time without a doubt. Number 7. Rogue One, a Star Wars Story, 2016.
Impressive.
This film takes place after the rise of the Galactic Empire in Star Wars, Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith in the year 2005, and before the Battle of Yavin in Star Wars, which was released in the year 1977. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, follows the outcast Jyn Erso and her journey about how she eventually came to join the Rebel Alliance. After joining the Alliance, Jyn finds herself in the middle of the ultimate conflict which takes place between the rebels and the Empire. The plot moves forward as her father, Galen, has built a terrifying super weapon, the infamous Death Star, which is a battle station capable of destroying an entire planet. This film has a galactic war, a deadly weapon, along with Jyn and the rebels whose hope is to try and restore peace to the galaxy after disobeying a set of rules and orders, but will they succeed in this mission? Mads Mikkelsen plays the role of Galen Walton Erso in Rogue One, and the father of Jyn Erso, around who the story essentially revolves. His character was one of the most renowned polymaths in the galaxy, along with being a gifted theoretician, mathematician, and experimental physicist. He was a humble and kind man, and while this role was very different and one of a kind compared to what Mikkelsen is used to playing, despite the hiccups, he still managed to do a flawless job. In interviews, he spoke about how the filming process was a little different as the script went through some rewrites, and was a little confusing, but a story that he thoroughly enjoyed and that shone through in his performance. Number 8. A Royal Affair, 2012. A Royal Affair tells the story of Princess Caroline Matilda of Great Britain, telling the truth about her life to her children in a letter she is seen writing at the beginning of the film. In Denmark, in 1767, Caroline Matilda is betrothed to the mad King Christian VII, and their relationship is not of the loving and caring sort. Additionally, she is not told that many of her books are banned by the state, so she is unable to pursue her passions of art and education, adding to her unhappiness. When Christian befriends German Dr. Johann Struensee, his demeanor begins to change, and as he learns of the Enlightenment through Johann, Denmark changes as well. However, Caroline Matilda falls in love with Dr. Struensee, and the two struggle to hide their affair from King Christian and the Danish people who disagree with Struensee's enlightened ideas. In his role as Dr. Johann Struensee, Mads Mikkelsen has amazing chemistry with Alicia Vikander as Princess Caroline Matilda. Their feelings for each other are near palpable, and the struggles they face in their friendship, then affair, leave the audience sharing in their pain and worry. He also has a great camaraderie with Mikkel Folsgaard, who plays King Christian. The way Johan helps Christian to grow reflects the way real friendships should function, and Mikkelsen's smart and soft demeanor adds to the performance so that the audience appreciates the friendship all the more. Number 9. Adam's Apples, 2005.
Du vil hellere kaste rundt med anklager.
Adam's Apples or Adam's Æbler is a Danish black comedy drama film that was directed and written by Anders Thomas Jensen in the year 2005. The film revolves around Ivan, who is a priest in a rural church, which is known for the apples that grow on a large tree in front of it. Ivan is a peculiar and odd man who tends to see the world through rose-colored glasses, is in denial about personal facts, and is convinced he's currently at war with none other than Satan. The rectory is a halfway house for recently paroled convicts, which includes Adam, who is granted parole from prison for participating in a rehabilitation program for 12 weeks. He is a large, tough neo-Nazi, a complete contrast to Ivan's character. Meanwhile, in annoyance at Ivan's persistence, Adam sets a different personal goal for his rehabilitation, which includes baking an apple pie. He is angered by Ivan's personality and beliefs and vows to break Ivan's faith. Adam eventually uses the Book of Job to psychologically break Eva, who then renounces his faith, which leads to everything going wrong. If you ever want to watch something incredibly dark narrated in a funny tone that makes you laugh while also making you question certain aspects of your life, this is the perfect film as it ticks all the boxes of the perfect black comedy. Mads Mikkelsen stars in a film closer to his Danish roots, which could be one of the main reasons for his excellent performance as the devoted priest who is so far into his faith that he can barely see outside of it. This character is multi-dimensional and has several layers to it, each of which is intricately performed by Mikkelsen, surprisingly making it one of his underappreciated roles. Number 10. Pusher 1 and 2, 1996 and 2004. Pusher 1 is set in Copenhagen and revolves around a low-level drug dealer Frank along with his sidekick, Tony. Frank is regular with his deal and is on a roll until one day he makes a huge deal that he hasn't paid for and he gets busted by the police. Although Frank manages to dump the drugs in a nearby lake, he owes his supplier a lot of money, who isn't the nicest person. The set's afoot as we follow Frank's journey to raise money in the underworld of Copenhagen. The film ends with him making plans to flee to Spain, but that plan never sees the light of the day. The second part of Pusher focuses more on Tony, played by Mads Mikkelsen, who is serving his last day in prison and is now a free man. Tony has different plans this time around. He is hell-bent on changing the course of his life and turning it around for good, while also being desperate to prove his worth and impress the people in his life who have grown to hate him. But as we know, that is easier said than done. While both the films were a great watch, according to the viewers and critics, Pusher 2 was the better film between the two. This could have been because Tony had a better storyline and character arc than Frank, or simply because Mads Mikkelsen has once again knocked it out of the park with his extraordinary performance. We aren't too used to seeing Mikkelsen in a role like this, and it takes the viewers by surprise and shows his versatility and willingness to perform as an actor. People had a hard time believing it was the same actor who played poker with a tuxedo in Casino Royale, and that is the magic Mikkelsen brings onto the screen. Number 11. After the Wedding, 2006. The film takes place in a very poor area of Bombay in India, where a Danish teacher, Jacob Pedersen, has dedicated his life to teaching children in an orphanage, along with raising 8-year-old Pramod since he was a baby. The plot moves forward when Jacob is invited to travel to Copenhagen to meet a wealthy businessman, Jørgen Lennart Hansen, who intends to donate a large amount to the orphanage. Despite being reluctant, Jacob agrees to travel for the good of the children, and promises Pramod to be back on his birthday the next week.
I promised I'll be back for your birthday.
In Copenhagen, Jorgen promises an annual donation to the orphanage and invites him to his daughter's wedding the following day. Jacob soon realizes that he has had a past with Jorgen's wife, Helen, and this entire wedding and his trip to Copenhagen will change the entire trajectory of his life. This film is a jigsaw puzzle, with an incredibly intense plot, and some great plot twists, and takes the audience all the from Bombay to Copenhagen, making it quite an interesting journey. Although this film has several plot points, the main protagonist is Jacob Peterson, played by Mads Mikkelsen, and you can't help but love him from the get-go. He is a handsome and humble man who has dedicated his life to the betterment of young lives, which is why the second something bad happens to him, it makes your heart break a little, which is only further testimony to just how good his performance is and how it makes this already brilliant film even better. Number 12. Open Hearts, 2002. Open Hearts is a 2002 Danish drama film which was directed by Susanne Bier using minimalist filmmaking techniques of the Dogme 95 Manifesto, which earned her the International Critics Award at the Toronto International Film Festival. The plot of this film revolves around an engaged couple that is torn apart after the soon-to-be husband, Joachim, is paralyzed in a car accident, and his fiancée, Cecily, falls in love with the man who is married to the woman who caused this accident, Marie. Marie's husband, Niels, is a doctor at the hospital, who then goes on to have an affair with Cecily. The movie unfolds as Niels decides to leave his wife, 2 young sons, and a teenage daughter for his new love affair, and Cecily decides to leave her tetraplegic fiancé. This film was Bier's best film in her entire career and was an emotional powerhouse from start to finish. Open Hearts won the Bodil and Robert Awards for Best Danish Film in the year 2003, with an exceptional performance from the cast, especially Mads Mikkelsen, who takes us through an emotional rollercoaster. The viewers had all been excited to see Mikkelsen in his form, and he never disappointed. In some ways, he was the antagonist of this film, but he wasn't a pure villain, as Mikkelsen humanizes this character and brings out several emotions through just dialogue and expression, as he gets more and more intense with the drama and progression of the film. Number 13. At Eternity's Gate, 2018.
What happened on the road to Arles?
I don't remember.
This film revolves around the final years of Vincent van Gogh's life, which he spent in southern France, and more specifically in Arles. Van Gogh, as we popularly know him, is driven by his art and what it means to him. His primary goal has never been making money, unlike most painters, which is why he was always financially and emotionally supported by his brother, Theo van Gogh. The artist is seen as less thoughtful about his work due to the speed at which he paints and what is often seen as the haphazard and chaotic style of thick strokes of paint on the canvas. This nature of his style of painting manifests into what can be seen as pure madness, which was concluded by the infamous accident concerning his ear. In this film, the biographers speculate whether that accident was mischief or indeed suicide as we all know it. At Eternity's Gate had a star-studded cast and was beautifully made with Willem Dafoe in the center stage as Van Gogh himself. In a cast like this, it is almost impossible to stand out, but Mads Mikkelsen does it anyway, and effortlessly too. Although he gets minimal screen time in this film, he delivers an extremely thoughtful performance as a priest who recognizes Van Gogh's uniqueness. Although the film belongs to Dafoe, Mikkelsen expresses his role beautifully through his eyes and expressions which speak stronger than the dialogues written in a script. That's all for this video. Who was your favorite charming villain? Let us know in the comments, and stick around for more exciting content. Stay safe and have a good one.